welcome. Today we're talking to Feroze and we're going to debunk a couple of myths with regard to investments. Feroze, I want to start with the most common and popular one that all of us hear and probably have used at some point in our lives is that financial planning is not for me. Most people believe that financial planning is only for ultra HNIs or people with a lot of money. But that's actually not true, right? You really need a financial plan in place to even create some money.
Correct. I think lesser the money you have, the more the relevance of the planning, because a rich man can actually use any portion of his wealth to meet his needs. A person who's actually will need planning is the person who's going to have a lesser disposable surplus on a monthly basis. So planning is for everyone. Planning is as good as when you have a cash inflow or cash outflow. Both these entries, if you have in your life, then planning is mandatory. And in fact, its relevance becomes lesser and lesser, in my opinion, as you go higher the order, because they can afford to not plan and still have money, and it's just a cash flow entry for them to meet the goals. Most of us should go through this journey on a more meticulous basis rather than an ad hoc basis.
Right. I know that more often than not, we talk about financial planning or investments, usually at the start of the year, where our HR would require you to, or would rather tell you that, you can save some taxes by making so-and-so investments. Most of us believe that the only way to save taxes is through an insurance policy, but that's completely wrong, right?
Correct. I think myth 2, like you rightly highlighted, is save tax through insurance policies. Insurance policies, as the name suggests, is to insure yourself. Tax saving is a peripheral thing, and if insurance has been given this benefit, there are several other things which have this benefit. So don't fall trap to this insurance policies to save tax, because it has destroyed humongous value for people, and it is so unbelievable that these products like unit-linked insurance plans, in my opinion, still exist. And they still get marketed. And this myth of saving tax using insurance policies is incorrect. Their commissions are the largest driver. I'm being very vocal, their largest driver, and you fall prey and you're trying to, at the nth minute, like Samina said, save taxes, and there comes an opportunistic person, gives you an insurance policy to make his money.
Very young investors or first-time investors are usually of the opinion that investing in equities is very risky and investing in a fixed deposit is safe. And that's what our Indian system of investments historically has been built on. Of course, that's not true and that's not a reality, because equities for the long term are probably less risky than even debt, right?
Correct. I think, Samina, you're right. We as Indians have this huge fear when it comes to equity. I think largely derived out of Bollywood, where it is portrayed as one of the gambling instruments. But I think equity is the long-term wealth creator. Just think about it. Being partners to the large corporates, how can that be gambling? How can that be risky, right? Those are the most intellectually proven people who run these large corporates, and you buying equity means you're becoming partners to these corporates. So it can't be as risky as it is optically visible. But if you're going to buy and sell and look at it every day, of course I empathize with the new investor. He or she would feel a little claustrophobic with the right kind of risk which overwhelms equity. But in the long run, like Samina, you mentioned, there is data to prove that people have not lost money in the long run. And the investor is the only person who decides how long he or she stays. So what's the harm? So if you can stay the course of 10 years, now if you look at Sensex, in 10-year periods, there has never been a 10-year period where you would have actually lost money. So there is evidence that long-term equity is not so risky. So this myth that equity is the most riskiest instrument and is a gambling mechanism is incorrect.
Right. There's also a thought that life insurance is for your dependent and not for you. That is a myth, right? Because most importantly, life insurance is basically to ensure that your dependents get the money when you actually die.
Correct. I think life insurance actually serves two purposes. One is the hard purpose, as it is optically visible. To when you are no more, your dependents get a serious portion of money to take care of your liabilities and also take care of their livelihood. The second thing it does is, if you have an insurance cover, which is a term cover of equal to 10 times your salary, annual salary, then it's but obvious that you will live a more peaceful life. Your family is going to live a far relaxed life. That itself will make you live longer maybe. So when you're thinking about how my dependents are going to live a life, then you might be shortening your life. So term cover gives you a kind of a low anxiety life, because you know if something happens to you, they will be taken care. And the more important aspect is, when you are actually no more, and if the eventuality ends up happening, then they get, so it is, term cover is not a waste of money. That's a myth. Quite a few people say, let me save on this term cover because there is no investment angle to it. Why pay this premium? I'm anyways not going to die this year, hopefully, with a large probability. But term cover is not a waste of money because it gives you a low anxiety life.
Very lastly, Feroze, most of us believe that we can do this ourselves, but let's not forget that financial planning in itself is a career for a lot of people, right? So clearly it's not something you can do part-time. You need someone who's got experience, time at their hands, and of course who's also paid at the end of the day to ensure your goals are met. So financial planner becomes imperative to create a financial plan and long-term wealth for the future.
See, I think here we have to, yes, this is a myth. A financial planner is not required. When a lawyer is required, when a CA is required, where all other interior designer is required, when you need lesser important services in life than money, if you need a professional helping you out, what is the data which a person sees before he or she comes to the conclusion that I don't need a financial planner? If you have to learn from people in the emerged countries, you don't hear this myth. In the US, for example, most of them first go ahead, find themselves a financial planner and then embark on this journey. So we should learn from the people who have already gone through the learning curve, and so this is a myth which we need to fight and go against emotionally, and hire yourself a financial planner, increase your odds of a better financial life.
Let somebody with the experience and the know-how help you with your financial plan and to create that wealth that you're looking to create in the long term. That's completely out of time. Thanks for watching.